So, so NWA is in this huge rebirth project, trying to get back to the glory days of the NWA that it once was, and it's being spearheaded by the new regime and by Nick Aldis, the NWA champion, who had regained his title after All In just like a couple of weeks later, which was a tragedy in my opinion because I would have loved Cody Rhodes running with the NWA Championship and rebuild and helping bring about the rebirth of the NWA. Like he helped kickstart it more so when All In happened because for a while this was probably the biggest publicity that NWA ever gotten in years since their whole decline state they went through. And then we got this huge deal going on with Ring of Honor and NWA. Hope they work with All Elite Wrestling's down the line because I would like to see Nick Aldis and Cody Rhodes go at it one more time. Heck, bring in Dustin Rhodes since he's in AWA right now for a one-off match probably. And we're talking about now is Nick Aldis versus Marty Scurll for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. And since I don't have that belt, I have to use the old WCW belt, which once upon a time, this was when there was some issues, I think. Back then, this was the NWA title. And I love this design. This is just a very iconic design. Hold on. This is just a very iconic design for a lot of people. Like, they love the big gold belt. And, yeah, I love it too. So, this is a match that it was building up, and they keep saying 15 years in the making. Hold on, I'm able to hold it much better on this side. This match that has been said by Nick Aldis and Marty Scurll to be building 15 years in the making was taking place at the return of the Crockett Cup. What is the Crockett Cup? Well, basically, this is a special tournament thing they did for a couple of times back in the 80s and 70s, I believe. And this was basically a gigantic tag team tournament. And the last one they held was back in, if I'm correct from my research, it was Sting and Lex Luger's first team up, I believe, and they were partners ever since for a long time. And yeah, and this was announced that it would be returning for 2019, and it would take place in Concord, North Carolina at the Cabarrus Arena, and it would be co-produced by the NWA and Ring of Honor. And headlining the show would be Nick Aldis and Marty Scurll. Now, the Crockett Cup itself was a tag team tournament, so basically all the matches in this tournament were in this show was all tag team based, and probably two other single matches, which was Colt Cabana versus Willie Mack for the NWA National Championship, and Nick Aldis and Marty Scurll would get the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, the 10 pounds of gold. And sure enough, I was really excited for this match. Part of me been wanting to see Marty Scurll win this match because, let's be real, this is Marty Scurll, and he would kill it being NWA champion. I really would love to have him have this belt around his waist. I really think he can make a run with the title, and I was really hoping he would come out with this win. And so this is a very traditional based event since this NWA is held by a very strict code of principles, and they'd like to go ahead and have this old senior referee that refereed a lot of great matches back in the day. Let me check his name. As I'm monitoring everything. But he was his name is Tommy Young. He's a veteran of the wrestling business. He gave the pre-match instructions. He did the examination of the legs and see if they're concealing any weaponry, which honestly I kind of miss nowadays in WWE because they did this a lot when William Regal had the brass knuckles that he would use, which would be the only reason. And this was a big deal for a lot of people because this was part of their big rebirth initiative. And like I said, it's Marty Scurll, the villain. And they're all on this huge momentum ride because of All In helping them get that traction again. I mean, like, when was the last time they had, like, over 20,000 people, over 10,000 or so, screaming their name and cheering for the NWA match? Because that was the loudest pop of the night. And yet, now we get this big matchup, and yeah, basically a lot of the elite have been getting NWA opportunities. And I really was on Marty Scurll's side. I was cheering for him. I wanted him to win this match. What they did was have Tommy Young be a referee in this match. He was more like the outside ref. And sure enough, Marty Scurll, being the conniving person that he is, decides to go ahead and get Carmel his Nick Aldis' insurance policy. And let's be real. Let me be real for a sec. If Mickie James was let out of her contract, I'm pretty sure she'd be in the position that Carmel is in. Camellia? I don't know. I'm pretty sure she would be in the same position that Nick Aldis gave this other woman position. And I'll be honest, she reminded me a bit of Chyna, except she had blonde hair. And plus she was willing to get physical against the guys in the ring. So that's fun. But yeah, I loved how Marty Scurll just got her out of the match like 5 minutes in because he knew, yeah, this woman's going to be a problem and I'm the villain here. And they tore the house down. There was blood everywhere. This was a very traditional style matchup with some theatrics of what you would expect from when someone's in the elite group. And then you got Nick Aldis, who from what I've seen is very traditional styled. And yeah, like they're mixing the old school with the new school, and you got Aldis is busted open. He's bleeding out of his eye, I think. And they brawl at ringside, and this match just was tearing the house down. I was loving every moment for it, and I loved how Nick Aldis, despite how he had this insurance policy, when she got back in the ring and she was about to help Nick Aldis retain his title, he stopped her and said, "No, I'm doing it. I'm finishing it on my terms," and tells her to go into the back, which was awesome because and Marty Scurll just responded to a low blow, and yeah, Marty Scurll is such a bastard at times when the villain persona. And like I said, I was really looking forward to the idea of Marty Scurll winning, but sadly that wasn't the case. After 23 minutes of bloody fighting and wrestling, Nick Aldis gives him the cloverleaf submission. Marty Scurll tries to fight it. The crowd is trying to get on his side, but Marty taps out. And I felt like it felt a little on that part, not because Nick Aldis won, it was because I felt like it feels like this match was supposed to go like a couple minutes longer, if for no other reason than because, let's be real, that was a lot of blood he was losing, and Nick Aldis should have passed out for a sec. Like, he should not, and he barely looked like he had any strength to do it. And I could have sworn Marty Scurll had Nick Aldis' fingers. He could have snapped it, because that's how Marty Scurll does. He snaps fingers, which is why I've been advocating for Pete Dunne versus Marty Scurll one way or another. And ultimately, Nick Aldis retains the NWA 10 pounds of gold title. And Marty Scurll goes ahead after they hug post-match. They show how far Marty Scurll goes and talks about his career 15 years ago starting out, and how Nick Aldis was the first person he met, took him under his ring, and helped him become the man who he is today. And Nick Aldis promotes him, saying that Marty Scurll is the biggest self-made star in wrestling today, and that the rebirth of the NWA is very real, after explaining how people thought, "You're crazy, you can't bring back the NWA to its former glory." And okay, that's going to be tough to do. Like, the NWA was a collection of territories, and that system's kind of been dead for a long time. Nowadays, it's all partnership agreements and sharing talent, but it's not really like a collective organization shaking hands and all that. But I do believe the NWA can get a big footing back in wrestling prominence again. And all these deals they're making, like, I would love to see this spread out more and this rebirth going ahead. Like, this was a very fun match. It didn't overstay its welcome, like a lot of people were saying. I loved every minute of it. Like I said, my only gripe with it is that I wish Marty Scurll won. But I understood why he doesn't win the matches. Like, he hasn't won the ROH World title or this title. Because of the contract situation that Marty Scurll's kind of in. Because there's been all the talk about how Marty Scurll's going to AEW. They're trying to keep him, but he probably is going to go. But they don't want him to go. And they put him in these big matches, and they have him lose, which is a tragedy in and of itself, because Marty Scurll can hang. He can carry the belt and make a run with it. I really do believe Marty Scurll can make a run with the title. It just feels like, due to this contract situation about where he's going after Ring of Honor, which was clearly AEW, is kind of stalled what should be his great ascension. Like, now Marty Scurll's looking for a fourth member of the Villain Enterprise. Oh, by the way, his Villain Enterprise guys won the NWA tag team titles, so that was fun. Though there is a tag team that has been around for 3 decades, and they're doing these high-flying suicide dives and sun flip power bombs. They're like in their 60s, I think. In fact, let me just double check, because I'm still blown away by that. The Rock and Roll Express. Like, let's see. Ricky Morton is 62, and Robert Gibson is 60. And yet, mostly Ricky Morton is acting like, hey, I'm still a cruiserweight. I'm 62. I still look like I could go ahead and act like I'm still in my 30s, in my prime, when I could do all these insane stunts. I can still go at it. And I'm like, oh my god, how is he doing this? Did he secretly found the Fountain of Youth? Like, his hair is still long after all this time. And that's usually the time when you're getting old and whatnot. But, like, no, Ricky Morton's like, screw age. I'm going to go ahead and keep doing insane stunts like I'm still in my 30s and can handle it. Yeah. But, yeah, so... yeah. Marty Scurll's future is really looking to be all elite. I really do hope that he's future going to be given a world title run. I really do believe he can make it with a world title around his waist. And it'd be pretty awesome to see him hold the big gold belt if they ever decide to bring that back. Sadly, they want the Brock Lesnar title. But, yeah, so those were my thoughts on Nick Aldis versus Marty Scurll at the Crockett Cup of 2019 for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. If you like, comment, subscribe, and donate, stay tuned for more. And welcome to the rebirth of the NWA.